So it seems that the Los Angeles Lakers have decided to shift their focus from this upcoming free agency, where there were rumors that they could be going after LeBron James, DeMarcus Cousins, or Paul George. And of course, throughout this entire season, they've been trying to clear cap space, Jordan Clarkson's contract being one that they've just been unable to move, and I think they were trying to use Julius Randle as a sweetener in any sort of move, and it just hasn't really worked out. And it seems like they are choosing to look towards the 2019 free agency. Because, I mean, if you just look at some of the names, I think the belief was that LeBron would only sign with you if another guy was coming. And now with DeMarcus Cousins having his injury on top of Paul George seeming by the day that he's becoming more on board with just staying in Oklahoma City, suddenly it's probably not going to happen. I mean, Kevin Durant's going to re-sign, Chris Paul's probably going to re-sign, even then he's a bit older. And then you're looking at like DeAndre Jordan, Aaron Gordon, Clint Capella, a definite drop-off, right? So it could make some sense for the Lakers to say, all right, we're going to go into 2019. Now, I think it helps them out a bit, okay? Because number one, for this next season, the Lakers are at $53 million in committed salary. And at that point, the only contract you have that you would potentially want to move is Jordan Clarkson. Also Luol Deng, but I don't think that contract's getting moved. You're going to have to pay for that one. And Clarkson with 2 years left, I think, is a little bit more attractive to teams than Clarkson with 3 years left on his deal, And, I mean, at that point, you could also just let Julius Randle walk in free agency. Potentially a sign and trade if somebody else wants him. Who knows what would happen with Randle. Potentially, you could re-sign him if you were confident enough in your abilities to move Clarkson's contract. That one would be a little riskier, but I guess it's a possibility. But I think besides just looking at this team's money and looking at some of the potential free agents in 2019, which I will talk about a little later, I think we should talk about just the season as a whole for the Lakers, and I think we should put it into perspective that even though this team was not really in playoff contention much, they've been winning lately. They've been looking good lately, but they're out of it. And even if it seems like they're not going to be acquiring a big name free agent this offseason, I think this was a successful season for the Lakers because in terms of acquiring rookies, I don't know how you can do any better than what they did unless you got like Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in the same season, you know what I mean? Because it's like, you got Lonzo, who I like a lot. Does he have to improve on his shooting and his general just finishing and aggressiveness? Sure. But I think Lonzo has the potential to be the best playmaker in the NBA. Okay, because when your starting point is 7 assists a game while having a 29% assist percentage, that's some good stuff. Now, his turnover percentage is 19%. It's a little high, but you would hope that it'll creep down as it goes. And, of course, his teammates seem to like him a lot. And, I mean, Lonzo is a very pass-first kind of guy, to the point where he might actually be a little too much of a pass-first guy. Sometimes he passes out of layups and stuff like that. He'll figure it out. I'm confident that he will. He's a good character guy, more of a low-key kind of dude. You might want to see him get a little bit more fired up at times. Hopefully that comes with time. But I think the on-court product for him should be pretty damn good. And I think perfect world Lonzo Ball in his prime is a guy who averages something about, we'll say 16, 17 points a game, gets you his 6-7 rebounds, I think, 9 to 11 assists a game, let's say, and hopefully figures out the shooting enough. I think that's a damn good player, And it should be said, like, the Lakers, they're actually a better defensive team when Lonzo Ball is in the game, and I think some of that is due to, he's a pretty good help defender. He has some trouble on ball defensive-wise, but, he knows when to rotate and all that stuff. Next, we got to talk about Kuzma. I mean, where the hell was Kuzma drafted? Was it late first round, or The 27th pick. They got him from the Nets. The Nets pick that came from the D'Angelo Russell trade, I believe, or something like that. I mean, Kuzma just seems like the ultimate finisher, three-point shooter, screen setter, post up on small guys kind of dude. Now, I fear that like his ceiling isn't too far away from what he is right now, but that's a good player nonetheless, you know? And then you have Josh Hart, who, number one, plays defense. Defense is fun. Number two, makes threes. Number three is pretty fearless when it comes to attacking the basket. That seems like the foundation of a good player to me. I think we are seeing the fact that Hart being 22 years old, Kuzma also being 22 years old, these guys are a little bit more ready for the NBA than your average rookie is. I think with Hart, it comes from his efficiency because his true shooting percentage is like 59% almost, which is really high for a rookie, even if his usage is not like too high, although it's been better lately. And then Kuzma was ready from day one, you know. Kuzma already has like an understanding of moving without the ball, knowing when to cut, being good in transition, recognizing when he has a mismatch on him. So you got some smart guys. And I think we can also talk about Brandon Ingram some. Not a rookie, of course, but he's improved quite a bit. He's just gotten a bit better at finishing through contact, getting to the free throw line way more this season. 5 free throw attempts a game as opposed to a little under 3 last year. And I think he's made some good strides as a playmaker. His turnovers have gone up, but I think given that he's a 20-year-old wing who can actually like make plays for other guys and dribble in the pick and roll sometimes, I think that's pretty okay. And then it's just a matter of when's the shooting going to come along, you know? Up to 35% from 3 this season. He's only taken about 1.5 a game, so he's definitely not hoisted him up there, but I think you got good rookies and you improved with Brandon Ingram. So I think this was a successful season overall for the Lakers. Now, would I go out and go crazy with re-signing some of these guys? Probably not. I would not re-sign Brook Lopez. I think he has value for you as an offensive center. Maybe for like a 1-year deal. I would do that. I would consider re-signing him for 1 year just to give me some more offense. But then again, his shooting has really fallen off from the good year he had with the Nets. Well, fallen off. I mean, he's basically shooting 34% from 3 in both years, so, you know, he gives you some offensive stuff. I would consider KCP on another 1-year deal. I don't know where this anti-KCP thing came from, where people think he's like been awful this year. I mean, he plays defense. He shoots 35% from 3. They're a better team when he's in the game. I don't really know where this KCP sucks movement came from, but I just disagree with it. Now, do I understand that he's frustrating sometimes? Sure, okay, sometimes he tries to do too much on offense. I get it. He'll do a pull-up in the pick and roll that he shouldn't do. I think the positive is better than the negative with him. Would I sign him to a long deal? No, because I think you still want to keep your options open for, you know, the 2019 free agency, of course, with Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, those kind of guys. But, you know, a 1-year deal for KCP, or maybe like a longer deal, but like maybe around $6-7 million a year. Potentially, you would probably have to let Randall go at that point, and you'd still have to be confident in your abilities to trade Jordan Clarkson, which I think it's possible. I just don't know if you'd be able to get like an expiring contract for the guy. I don't know. I mean, he's definitely got value as a ball handler. I think on a team with maybe a bit more talent around him, he could even be more efficient for a different team. I think you can move Clarkson, and I do think you can get a generous contract back for him, but only under those circumstances would I then re-sign KCP. And even then, I wouldn't sign KCP to a big contract. But if we get to some potential names for the 2019 free agency, I think there's like 3 stars. There's Kawhi Leonard, who has a player option that he will be declining because he'll be making $21 million if he were to accept it. So he'll decline that and he'll want to get a max contract. I mean, with all the stuff going on with the Spurs right now, it might be absolutely nothing, and Kawhi could be totally committed to staying there. In terms of winning, I mean, you have to assume San Antonio should be able to maintain it. I mean, I did talk about this particular topic on a video a couple weeks ago at this point. There are some concerns just because the roster is definitely an older one, and they do have committed salary to a lot of older guys like Pau Gasol, and I mean, Patty Mills is okay, but he's Patty Mills for quite a while, so their options in terms of becoming significantly better are not exactly there. But at the same time, Pop's a really good coach, and the Spurs are really good at just finding guys who end up being better than than we expect, right? So I would say that the Spurs should be really good, and Kawhi will have a lot of reasons to stay there, but I don't know. Maybe they're unable to move on from the current crop of guys and really have like an all-around team that's good enough, you know, in a couple of seasons, because Danny Green has a player option after this season. He'll probably accept it because I don't think he's going to get more than $10 million on this open market. But then again, you know, another year for Danny Green, a guy who, you know, he's a good defender, a very good defender in his own right, but maybe just, given that he's not like a very athletic player, maybe he could just be a step too slow and then his value decreases drastically. LaMarcus Aldridge, I assume Pop is going to be able to age him pretty gracefully, but at the same time, you get older, you still get older. I mean, Tim Duncan was definitely not as effective, even if he could have moments of it still. I like DeJounte Murray, sure, but that's one other guy who's really young on the Spurs, so you know, maybe Kawhi sees all this and he decides I'm out after next season, and the Lakers potentially could be in a position to scoop him up. Klay Thompson, because the situation with the Warriors, a very expensive team, Kevin Durant gonna re-sign there, and I mean if they want to go into the luxury tax for a long time, because you have to assume that with their big four, they're going to be title contenders for a while. I don't know. Maybe their owner is just totally willing to just go deep into the tax and the repeater tax and all that year after year after year for a team that could win a lot of championships. But if he's not willing to do that, then Klay Thompson, he'd probably get traded before anything, but maybe he would end up on the open market. And then at that point, yeah, you go for it. I think Klay is a level below some of these other guys, but still, sure, defenses would dare him to create a little bit more, but he's damn good nonetheless. And then the other guy is actually Jimmy Butler, who is showing a lot of leadership things for the T-Wolves this season, and I think having him there to, you know, influence all these young dudes, that could be valuable for you. However, Minnesota's playing well, and I think there's a decent chance that Jimmy could be like, you know what, it's going good here, I'm just going to stay. So, you know, those are a few names. There's also Kevin Love. I mean, he's a guy, you know, can give you offense. I don't know if he would, well, he definitely wouldn't be a defender. And in terms of marketability and general leadership, I don't think he's on the level of some of these other guys, but, you know, these are names. There's also, like, Kemba Walker. I mean, he plays the same position as Lonzo, so that might cause some complications. Whatever. I think it makes sense for the Lakers to move a year back in their free agency plan, and I think the fact that they have some young dudes who look good makes all this a little bit more okay. And it should be mentioned whenever I'm talking about acquiring any of these potential free agents, you assume your young dudes will get better as this is happening, right? So maybe you would acquire, I don't even know who, we'll just say Jimmy Butler, okay? Might never happen, who knows? But we'll just say him. Like, he could be well, I don't know if he can be the best player on a championship team, but maybe Brandon Ingram could elevate himself into being like a top 20 player, I don't know. If the three-point shot just really became a thing for him, then, I mean, hey, you're really good at that point, right? So anyway, yeah. I think the Lakers are going in the right direction. Patience, man. Patience is required when you want to rebuild a team And I don't think there's anything wrong with being bad as long as you have a clear direction, and I would say they do.